Alright, so we're spending another day working on the car. She is mobile now, finally. She's on some dollies that we bought. So the dollies are nice. I can push it over from its little corner in the sun there into the shade so I can work on it, which is phenomenal. Anyway, it still looks like a big piece of garbage. It is. Anyway, so today, disabling the power steering. Took the power steering pump out. This needed to be, there was a line coming off this going to the power steering pump, so I cut the line off and then I welded that shut. And then doing the same thing over here. There's a banjo fitting and we are about to weld that up over here. I just got to plug these two holes here real quick, and that should be good. That's just to keep dirt and whatever out of there. I could essentially leave them open because there's not really going to be anything except for residual fluid going there, but it's to keep the dirt and everything out. So anyway, after that, I just have to cut these hard lines. These two hard lines here need to be looped together, so I'm going to cut them right before the bend, loop them together with some 1/4 inch inner diameter fuel line. Those two need to be looped, and then there's also two here. There's one that runs here to, there's like a fitting somewhere in the middle of the rack, and that needs to be connected. So anyways, that's what we're doing. I'm going to weld this up, and then I'll show you what that looks like once it's all done. Got it cooled down to where I can hold it. Still a little bit warm, but whatever. And I'm thinking the threads are not going to be very smooth going back in here, but we are going to try and see if we can get away with it. Hopefully the threads knock some of this little, these slag inclusion things off. We will see. Okay, so I don't know why I couldn't get that thread in a minute ago, but I went back and cleaned up the threads with a box cutter, and now I can't get it to thread again, but I just did a second ago. I know it does. Maybe it's just something I can't do one-handed, I don't know. There we go. Okay, so anyway, it does thread in now, and it seats pretty well in there, so I can, before I had to crank it down all the way with the crescent wrench, but now I can get it all the way down almost to tight with my fingers, and then come back with a crescent and just finish it off. So anyway, alrighty, so anyway, there's that. That one's tight, this one is tight. Let me double check that. Where's my 17? Right here. Yep, that one is tight. So anyway, those should not be leaking. And then the next step will be to cut those and find the other line. There's another line somewhere in the middle here. Yeah, right here. I can't see it, but whatever, it's right here that this hard line connects to. Cut that and then loop that one and this one, if we can see that. This one here comes down something like this. So anyway, that might be a tomorrow project because I don't really feel like jacking the car up. So the rest of today I might take this wheel off and see what's going on with this subframe. I can already see this is bent, so I lied in the very first video. I guess all the suspension is not perfect, but I think it's fixable. Whatever, I'm hoping so. I'm hoping I'm not doing all this work for nothing. But anyway, we're going to stay positive. Everything has been going pretty well on this car so far, so I'm going to hope it stays that way. This car needs a lot of work still. It needs these boot things repaired here. Actually, so does my daily. It's got a rip, not quite this bad, obviously, but it's got a rip in the boots as well, so I need to fix that. This car just needs to be cleaned, honestly. This is really pretty bad. There was no under tray with the car, so it's all kinds of road grime. Like this is like almost a 1/4 inch thick on this. It's disgusting. So anyway, I'll probably come in here with some degreaser and let it soak and then spray it off eventually. Clean up the hot side here. Cold side is not so bad, but it's still pretty disgusting. Then I need to remove, I gotta figure out what this is. I don't have this piece in my daily car. I have a feeling it's got something to do with the cruise control. Actually, I'm almost positive it's got something to do with the cruise control being on the throttle body side. But I don't have that in my car, so I gotta figure out what that is, how it works, the wiring that goes with it. Also assuming it's these things here although that does go to the power steering pump, so I don't really know. Anyway, so we're going to figure out what all that garbage is, probably take that out because obviously I don't need cruise. So yeah, we're still kind of in the stripping phase, but we're getting there. The interior, I guess, is on the rebuild phase. There's nothing else really to strip out in the interior. So we are just still on the stripping part of the exterior. I need to cut the rest of these off. I decided I'm not keeping the stock frame rails. I found a square tubing supplier around me. It was just a local welding shop that I'm probably going to get some square tubing for. Make up some mounts for the sway bar, which will be really easy. Just actually might even be able to save this. Just cut the straight parts off because this is like spot welded here. Spot welded to it. I already took the bolts out and it's just not budging. I tried with a screwdriver on this side and it came, you know, loose on the sides, but you can see it's must have been spot welded or something in the middle because it's definitely stuck in there. So anyway, probably cut these off here, keep this stock piece, weld it to the new frame rails that I'm going to make, and then get started with the tube front. So that'll be after I get this stuff taken care of, finish looping the steering lines, finish fixing hopefully the subframe, figure out there. I know there's a leak back there somewhere. I really don't know where it's coming from. Possibly the oil pan somewhere in the back. I don't really know. Like I said, we'll get under there. Once I end up jacking the car up and doing the power steering, I'll check out the underneath of the car and see how it's going. But anyway, so as far as that goes, this is where I'm at with this. And I don't know. We'll see what's going on. Okay, so I decided to completely depower the rack tonight because it's actually a lot easier than I thought. So anyway, basically there's two fittings that are here and one below it. Let me see if I can get an angle of that. So there's two fittings here. Both end up having hard lines that run this way. This is one of them. One of the hard lines runs down and up over to a fitting at this nipple here. So I cut that fitting off, which I'll show you in a second, and I cut those two fittings off while they were in the car. Then I unthreaded them and took those out. Then one of those fittings that's over here has a hard line that runs down to this fitting under here. And that fitting I can't get to because it's actually on the back side, so I can't get to it with a wrench. But I figured out there's a really easy way to do this while it's in the car. So you take, what I'm going to do is cut that off, and then when I put this side back in, I'm going to angle the fitting, which I'll show you in a minute, out towards the front of the car, and then I'm going to cut this piece off right about here, and then that'll let me put the fuel line, which I think they say it's a quarter inch inner diameter, on here with a little hose clamp and run it around the front to this nipple here. So I'll show you how to do that here in a second. But that's just an easy way since you can't really reach this while it's in the car. Like, I mean, under here you could, but it would take a million turns with a wrench and it's really not worth it. Especially on a car like this, it's just gonna be a beater. So anyway, let me walk over here and I'll show you the fittings. So this is the one that goes on that nipple I was gonna show you. So this is gonna get angled towards the front of the car. Like this, somewhere in that region, and the fuel line or whatever hose I use will go from there down to that fitting. And then the other two fittings, they just get connected together. So these two fittings are just going to go something like that with a little piece of hose to connect them. So anyway, what I'm doing right now is just cleaning up the burrs and stuff like that, because no fluid has to go through here anymore. It's just going to be a difference in pressure, basically, is the only reason they have to be connected, is what I've gathered from, I believe it was Flyin Miata, maybe, I can't remember, that put up a manual on how to depower your rack. So anyway, gonna grind off these burrs. I'll take a drill bit to the inside to get those back good again. And then I'm gonna screw these back in and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so just finished filing these down and they are looking pretty decent. No sharp edges or anything, which is all I was shooting for. So anyway, these are all pretty well good to go. I need to wash them out so none of those metal shavings are in there. But
anyway, that's about what we were shooting for. This one might need a little more filing, but anyways, so those are looking good. And then the only thing left, I've got to take this angle grinder and cut through that one line, and then I guess file it as best I can on the car, because it's not going to be too accessible down there, but I'll do what I can. And then after that, I guess we're done. So it's going really well. I'm hoping to have this done tonight. Alrighty, so it ended up getting dark, but I wanted to show what I got done here. I ended up having to run to Home Depot really fast and get some stuff. So anyway, I bought some 1/4-inch inner diameter fuel line and some little worm gear clamp things, whatever these are called, little hose clamps. Anyway, so that's what that rewire looks like, and I am working on the other side as we speak. So anyway, that's what it looks like. This is welded up, this is welded up, and this is looped so it wasn't kinked. I cut it too short the first time and it ended up kinking. I didn't realize how close these two little things actually were. But anyways, this is what we're left with. It doesn't rub on anything, which is really nice, and it won't. There's not really anywhere for it to rub on anything. It's not quite long enough to really hit too much here. Maybe the motor mount if it got pushed down by something, but I think it'll be fine. So anyway, pretty happy with how that turned out, and I got to do the other one. Okay, I wanted to make a quick video for these mosquitoes eat me alive. I know I said the original plan was to get the little bit here angled towards the front of the car, but it ended up working much better angling it underneath. See if I can get some light under here. So I angled it underneath, and it comes right underneath the oil pan there, and it comes right down here. So anyway, that worked out really well. It's a really clean path there. I actually like that better than I like this over here. This is, even though it's not kinked or anything, it just doesn't look quite as clean. I really like how that looks. Turned out really nice. There's no real like hard radiuses or anything like that. And it does touch the oil pan, but it's not really a huge deal. I'll see what happens if I back off that nut a little bit and angle it farther back towards the car. I might see if I can do that really quick. Actually, I can do that on video here. Let me just loosen it just a tad, and I'll angle it back just a shade and tighten that up and see how that looks. Camera up here so you can maybe see what I'm doing. These fucking mosquitoes will get out of my way. They're killing me. Alrighty. Yeah, I like that even a little better. Now it doesn't even actually, I know it looks like it's touching, but it's just a bunch of grime and stuff. It might be touching just a shade there. But yeah, that looks really clean. So anyway, that's what we did. Now the steering rack is officially depowered and good to go. So that's the end of today. I'm about to wrap up and put all this stuff back where it belongs. So